Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about training barefoot. Occasionally people will ask or they'll notice and they'll say, Jason, you train barefooted all the time. Why do you do that? I think that's weird. Is that safe? All these other strange questions. And what you guys will notice, the only time for a very, very long time, I'm going to say going back close to a year, approximately a year. It could be a little less, could be a little bit less, but certainly it has been all of this year, all of 2020. I haven't worn shoes at all while lifting. I don't wear them at all. I wear socks to deadlift. Now, people will say, well, why socks to deadlift? Because the bar scrapes your shins, right? The bar scrapes your shins. Now, I can stand narrow enough that it's not as big of an issue potentially for my conventional, but if I do any sumo stuff or anything that's slightly wider stance than my normal stance for the deadlift, I risk the knurling scraping my shins. And people say, well, how bad is it? Well, when you have fairly coarse knurling, I've ripped off 4 or 5 inches of skin, right? Tapping. I've shown pictures before of when I've actually dropped bars. It's even though I had the socks on that just strip skin all the way down my shin through the socks. So they're there to protect us. Also, in competitions in powerlifting meets, you're required to have shin protection on. Okay, shin guards or socks, high socks, for a reason. If it wasn't for protective reasons, like if I didn't need them, like if you look on that pull, because I have to go really narrow for that deficit, technically the knurling isn't really hitting my shins, but on some of the pulls it will. And it's a safety precaution, that's it. And since I don't need it for any other lifts, I don't. Right? I don't wear anything that's not necessary for my training for the most part. Just no point. We get hot, we get sweaty. Just don't feel like putting other stuff on. There's no benefit. So I don't even wear shoes now for lifts that don't benefit from it. So let me get that out of the way also, because what I'm going to cover here involves our feet and our ankles. Now, people will say, well, lifts where you're not standing, it doesn't matter. Well, why do I need to put shoes on to train? If I'm used to training and doing all my squats and good mornings and everything else without shoes, why do I need to go through the trouble to put shoes on? Because I used to put on my work boots, even in these shorts, right? Hiking boots. I'd put them on to train. But then I realized, well, what's the point? I'm used to training without shoes. Do I really need to throw them on to do my bench pressing? Or my curls or tricep extensions or anything else? No. There's no need. I'm used to training without them on all the lower body stuff, so why throw them on for the upper body stuff? There's no actual benefit. I have a really grippy floor. Dig in just fine. I bought grippy flooring for my platform, sitting on top of the platform and on top of the wood. But even then, I don't really need the grippy for the stuff. Like I get on these smooth plates to pull deficits. So we come over to the point. Why barefoot? Because it's beneficial. You get better rooting to the ground. You can root to the ground and get more surface area into the floor with your feet. Okay? Shoes reduce your surface area into the ground. Right? Because you're trying to dig into the base of the shoe. And I mean, if you get really hard shoes and you're not sweating, you don't have sweaty socks or anything, you can get good rooting in a shoe. But, you might need to put, baby powder and stuff in there. Right? Keep it dry. You can get good rooting. But not as good as you can get to a rubber floor. Right? It's not anywhere near as good. You get better rooting. And again, where is our strength? It's from the foundation. Okay, your feet and your ankles are the foundation. Now, it was a little uncomfortable at first in some ways. I noticed the extra pressure in my ankles. But guess what happens? When you're used to training with ankle support and shoes on, and your feet are crammed, okay, you have all that support at the ankle. Your ankles don't have to get as strong. And I got this from Chris Duffin. Chris Duffin, he's a good guy. Had some interesting chats with him. he advocates this and he pushes this, and he is just monstrously strong as a phenomenal coach himself, right? Phenomenal coach, phenomenal businessman, phenomenal lifter. That's how I describe that guy. Guy's just an all-around badass. And he advocates the same thing. So I want people to understand I got this from Chris. This is not my creation. So again, I don't want people to think that I'm claiming I came up with this, but he has basically said, look, this makes your ankles and feet stronger. Okay, it hypertrophies the connective tissue of your ankles and your feet. It will build the muscles of your feet. It will make your foundation stronger. And it matters. Over time, you get stronger because of it. Right? There's certain things to be said for foot health. Stretching your feet. Stretching your toes apart. Learning to spread those feet when you squat and deadlift and do anything heavy standing. Okay? Teaches you to root to the ground better. Gives you better support. Right? You have more surface area to connect with the floor with. And because we remove that ankle support, what do you think happens? Well, we get adaptive stress. You're routinely putting 500, 600, 700 pounds, whatever you happen to be lifting. Right? All my squatting and deadlifting is up through that range, 5 to 6 plus. Okay. What happens? Your ankles have to adapt. They're tissue just like everything else in your body's bone, tendons. Okay. They get stronger because they have to. They're subjected to that stress. The end result is that it makes those areas stronger. I mean, people want to talk about things like the tendons of their ankles and Achilles tendon and stuff. You can talk about that being a weak point. Really? It shouldn't be. You do all your heavy lifting barefoot and build it all up. Right? Because you don't have that support around your ankle. You're forced to just strengthen it with good training. It makes you stronger. It makes it more resilient. Just like lifting does for everything else. Now, people will say, well, Jason, what about the elevated heel? There are benefits to that. No, the elevated heel is for Olympic lifters. If you Olympic squat, they can help you reach depth. But when you're power squatting, think about the moment arms involved. When you were doing a wide stance power squat, so when I say power squat, people think I'm talking about bar position on your back. I squat high bar. I squat with my feet all the way to the edges of the rack too. Okay, the sides of my feet are pressed up against those legs at the bottom. If I had a different rack with a monolift and all that stuff, I'd probably go wider. Go with my equipment limitations these days. Feet are at the edges of the rack. Power squatting. We're out wide. Do you know that your ankles and knees don't have to bend as much to reach parallel? What? State that again. When you squat wide versus shoulder width, your knees don't track as far forward. They stay further back. You need less ankle mobility. And you don't need the same amount of knee bend. Parallel isn't just about how deep your knees go. People have this idea that depth is determined by knee angle. No. Depth is determined by knee angle relative to ankle angle and hip angle. Okay? Your knees don't have to bend as much with a wide stance. And your ankles don't have to shift nearly as far forward. So if you're not put into that position, you don't benefit from the elevated heel. There's no need for it. You just squat wide. Right? Squat wide. You can hit parallel or below without worrying about it. Even if you need the shoes, if you need shoes to break below parallel with an Olympic squat, squat out wide. You can throw the shoes away. You don't need them. I'm not Olympic lifting, so I don't care. But you guys have also seen me Olympic lift and hit death barefooted before too. So it's a non-issue. Right? We don't need shoes. We need shoes if competition rules require it. We need shoes if our gym requires it. I bet you your gym won't say anything if you take your shoes off and run over with socks and squat, though, just for your sets. Okay? Probably as long as you have socks on, they'll allow it. right? Not necessary. It'll make you stronger. It'll make you better. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.